I know what I said, alright? You said, it'd be my turn. You look at my movies. I know Nick Cage, I know. But here's the thing, I had another idea. Wrestle-A-Thon. Now you can, I will do some of your movies next year, January. I'll do 5 Nicolas Cage movies in a row. Hold me to that. You hold me to that. I will. Okay. Wrestle-A-Thon. It's something I came up with. I'm thinking about. Well, last night I was watching Wrestling with Regret. I was watching some of his old movie reviews of movies with wrestlers in it, and he got to the Marine movies I was watching this morning, and I went, you know what? I kind of want to review the Marine movies. And I'm like, you know what? I kind of want to review movies with wrestlers in it. And so I started looking up places to watch. So as you can see, I don't physically have See No Evil, which is the first movie I'm going to do. But I found it on Tubi. Gotta love Tubi. But here are my criteria. The thing's crooked. Hold on. I thought I fixed it so I wouldn't do that anymore. My criteria for this is simple. They have to be a film produced by WWE Studios, and they have to be starring a WWE superstar. And I mean starring a WWE superstar who at the time of the film or currently, doesn't matter. The reason I say starring is because there are some movies like The Call or Dead Man Down which have, or Armed Response, which have WWE superstars like Wade Barrett, David Otunga, or Seth Rollins, where they're just minor roles. I mean, I think in Dead Man Down, Wade Barrett says maybe one line. I've never seen the other two. So, you know. And, you know, Sharknado 4 doesn't count either. Seth Rollins has one line in that. Kurt Angle is in the second one. They are wrestler 1, 2, and 3, and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, I think, have wrestlers. Yeah, because you got Kurt Angle in Sharknado 2. You have Chris Jericho in Sharknado 3. Seth Rollins in Sharknado 4. And then John Morrison, Agent Mundo, in 5. So, yeah, there was a wrestler thing for 2 through 5 for some reason. But anyway, that's what I'm doing here. Movies produced by WWE Studios, also starring WWE superstars. And while looking at it, I know that they say that Scorpion King, The Rundown, and Walking Tall are all underneath the WWE Studios banner. I already did The Rundown. But however, the first official film recognized as a WWE Studios film is See No Evil. It has the logo at the beginning. It is legitimately the very first official WWE Studios production. So we're going to go with See No Evil. I may do a second Wrestle-A-Thon later on next year, after you, of course, that will delve into other movies starring wrestlers. Like there's movies with Hulk Hogan, like Mr. Nanny or Suburban Commando I could do. There's a movie called Wrong Side of Town that I almost did for this. It stars Batista and RVD. Not a WWE Studios film. And there's other WWE Studios productions. Santino is in Jingle All the Way too. I may do that in December. Who knows? We'll see. But for now, we'll stick with this. It's See No Evil from 2006. The year I graduated high school. And there were actually 2 films that came out in 2006. So close together that I actually thought The Marine, which was the other movie that came out that year, came out first. You know, I was watching Brian Zane's video on this, and he goes, See No Evil was the first one. I said, no, it was The Marine. And then I looked it up, and no, actually, this came out first. Who knew, right? I didn't. So, yeah, the film stars Kane, as you can see. So Kane goes down in history as the first WWE superstar to star in an official WWE Studios film. Kane, he plays Jacob Goodnight, a serial killer who takes people's eyeballs out. Yeah. And the plot is about this group of juvenile delinquent teenagers who are all almost 30 years old. Yeah, it's one of those things where we have juvenile delinquent teenagers, but they're obviously in their mid-20s. And they're obviously Australian. But they are assigned to clean out this hotel, but inside the hotel lurks Jacob Goodnight, hunts them down one by one. There's also this vendetta because 4 years prior, there is this cop named Frank Williams who has an altercation with Goodnight. He shoots him in the back of the head and gets away, but Goodnight takes one of his arms off. And so we have that story, which actually goes nowhere, really. Yeah. And we have a cast made up of mostly Australian actors that really cannot hold back their accents. There are certain points where you just can't. Where you're just like, okay, these are Australian actors, with the exception of 3. And I looked them all up. They're all either Australian or New Zealand-born Australian actors, with the exception of Kane, of course, Christina Vidal, who plays Christine, wasn't the original name, and Michael J. Pagan, who plays, I had it into my tongue and it's gone, but he's African-American character. And the reason I already knew they were American is because Christina Vidal was on a Nickelodeon show called Taina in the early 2000s, and Michael J. Pagan was actually in a Disney Channel movie in the year 2000 called Up, Up, and Away. It's a superhero story. It's like Sky High before Sky High happened. But Sky High did it better. I'll admit that. But, yeah. And I know they were both in their mid-20s at this point. Maybe early 20s for Christina Vidal, but mid-20s. And all the other actors are Australian. And you can tell Rachel Taylor cannot hold back her accent to save her life. She's constantly trying to do this American accent that keeps teetering out into Australian, which is probably why they kept her Australian in Transformers the next year, which is, she's Australian, but every single one of the other people that they're brought in are American. And it's probably because, oh, I've seen her in See No Evil. She can't do an American accent. Let's just keep her Australian. I'm just saying, I think the best one that does the American accent are the actors that play Michael and Kira. I think they're the best at. The others teeter in and out so much. It's like, why can't it just be Australian teenagers? Why do they have to be American? I don't know. So like I said, we get the opening scene of Frank Williams and his partner. They come across this place. And if you like the song Jesus Loves the Little Children, well, I hope you enjoy this because they played a lot in this, especially towards the end. But anyway, and Frank and his partner, they come across Jacob Goodnight, and they have this woman with religious tattoos and missing her eyes there. Frank's partner is killed, but he shoots Jacob Goodnight in the back of the head, but not before losing one of his arms. And then we cut to 4 years later, and Williams is now in charge with this other woman, Hannah. They're in charge of these juvenile delinquent teenagers who are almost 30. And we see that Michael and Kira have a history. Like, he's the reason she's locked up, I guess. Drug possession or something. I don't know. I really don't care. But they are sent to clean out this old hotel so the homeless people can live in it. But then they say this. She says, don't go on the top levels, the penthouse. There was a fire here. It's too burnt up. And, it's it's dangerous. You can't go up there. Well, then you couldn't refurbish it for homeless people. At that point, if there are that many levels on top, it should be condemned. And this hotel should be condemned. There is just so much wrong with it. But I digress. So she puts them to work, and as a janitor myself, that I don't talk about my personal job, but I am a janitor. I work for a place for handicapped and disabled people. I have autism, in case you didn't know. But I work as a janitor. I've done it for 13 years now, and since 2008. So for 2008, and it's now 2000. It's now 2022. Okay, the one. Yeah, I've done it for a while now. And as a janitor, this bugged me. Okay, so Michael goes to mop out this bathroom. First of all, you see that this is. He takes the mop out and sticks it in the toilet. You don't mop a toilet. There's no water in it per se, but you don't in the toilet itself. You don't mop a toilet. You use a toilet bowl cleaner and a scrub brush or a toilet brush, whatever, to clean it out. You don't use a mop. It's not going to do anything. Okay. Second of all, the mop water he is using is probably some of the dingiest, nastiest looking mop water that I've ever seen anyone start out with. I'm pretty sure this is his first place he's going to clean, and this is the most disgusting looking mop water that anyone would ever start out with. You would not have this dirty of a mop water. You might end, like by the time you're done, you might have it be that bad, but you to start with, no, it would not happen that way. No way. But yes, so yeah, they're separated. Girls one side, men the other. They say at the beginning, hey, no fraternizing, but it's gonna happen. And of course, by nighttime they go exploring, and so you have Zoe, Russell, Michael, and other chick. She's the vegan, not shave my pits type character. And they go and they're going to explore the penthouse floors. Meanwhile, Richie and Michael J. Pagan, they are going to go try to find a secret treasure that somehow exists in this place. And then you have Christine and Kira, who are in their room talking. And it's revealed that Kira has back cigarettes that she stole from Hannah. Zoe stole from Hannah, whatever. And so they go to smoke them, and then Williams shows up, and he just lights one and is like, don't burn the place down. So, he's the cool guy, But something I want to point out, and I said this before in other reviews, that I can tell when someone doesn't actually smoke in real life because they have a hard time lighting them. Like, they light them weird. Like Samara Weaving in Mayhem, she has it cocked to the side. So Christina Vidal, she goes to light her, she has it sticking out. Like, I've been around people that smoke my entire life. I could pantomime it. If you want me to act like I'm a smoker, I could do it because I've seen it enough. But she's just, no. She has it sticking way out of here, first of all. Like, she puts it in, where's a pen? Here's a pen. When you go to light it, go this. Right? She's got like this. And try to light that way. I've seen people light it. You go there. And light it. Whatever hand you're smoking, hand, whatever. But she's just like, Samara Weaving does it too in Mayhem. So or like that. That looks stupid. Try to be cool when you're acting like you're smoking, but you can tell these actors don't actually smoke in real life. I think Samara Weaving vapes. I think I saw it. I'm not exactly sure, but vaping is a different thing, kind of. But anyway, the thing always bugged me because I've been around smoking my entire life, and then you see it, and then like, obviously these actors don't know how to do it. Some people can, do really good. It's called acting, but who knows? So eventually, though, Goodnight, he starts to kill it. He kills Richie. And then they realize something's going on, and Kira gets kidnapped. So Williams is like, okay, I'm going to go try to find out what's going on. Hannah gets killed after having Hannah's the other one in charge with Williams. And after she has a heartfelt talk with Williams about, oh, my boyfriend proposed to me, but I don't know if I'm going to say yes. And then she gets in there and she switches it to her left hand like she's going to say yes. and then she's killed right away. So there's character development for you. But after this, Williams and Christine decide we gotta go find Kira, and she explains who it is. It's like some big bald guy with a bullet, with a hole in the back of his head, and that's when he realizes it's Jacob Goodnight. It's the guy that got away. And here, 40 minutes into the film, we have a confrontation between the two, and Williams is killed off screen. Like, he gets hooked, pulled up, you hear some gunshots, and then his body's just flung back down and he's dead. So this whole thing with him, confronting the person that took off his arm, big battle between them, it's done off screen, 40 minutes in, and we still got the rest of this film. What a crock, right? Just why? What's the point? We find out later why he's there, but And so, vegan chick and Russell, they go to make out, and we find out that Kira has religious tattoos, which is why she's kidnapped and not killed. So yeah, the four, they kind of split up. The four that are on the penthouse, they split up with Zoe and Michael smoking weed. And I'm not saying Rachel Taylor's a bad actor, but she's supposed to act like she's high, and it's more like what a 12-year-old would think that someone smoking weed would act. Like, she's constantly weed doesn't do that. And I've seen it in many movies where they smoke weed and they turn into a giggling mess. Weed doesn't do that. Robin Williams, if you ever seen this stand-up, he said that he couldn't do weed because it turns him into a giggling mess. So maybe it depends on the person, but without divulging who, I've been around people who smoked weed, and if they're acting like that, then it is acting. Pure and simple. Trying to get a response from you. And that is acting. She's acting like a child with this. Like, most people could smoke weed and be just fine. Like, there's a difference. A lot of people have defended smoking weed, where you could smoke a joint and go driving and be just fine, other than having a couple beers and driving. It's different. This is why it's weird that weed has been illegal for so long. Alcohol, which could be, deadlier for you, has been legal all this time. It's just, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense at all. All the stuff that's legal that could end up killing you, and this one substance, weed, marijuana, whatever, has been illegal forever. I get drugs, whatever. But, weed is now, the most tame drug you can take besides aspirin. So, who knows? The severity of, you see old commercials from the 90s, don't do drugs, don't smoke weed, kids. And it's out of all the drugs you could do, I think weed is the best thing to do if you're going to do drugs. But don't do drugs. I'm just saying. Don't do cocaine or smack or speed or stuff like that. Crack. Smoke weed. Makes everyone happy. Especially Rachel Taylor, who thinks that she's... that they act like giggling 12-year-olds, apparently. There's my spiel about smoking weed. I've never done it, but, I've been around it. I've never done it. But anyway, yeah, so they separate, and so you have Russell and the vegan chick. They're making out on a bed, and it's making out. They're gonna have sex, but because there's no nudity in this movie, they just pull on each other's shirts and pull them up constantly until Jacob Goodnight finds them and kills them both. And Zoe is eventually taken out by having her cell phone, or Hannah's cell phone, shoved down her throat. You can see which is probably my pick of the movie for the best kill, I think. I think it's the most gnarly one to me anyway. It's the one that I remember the most. Besides Hannah getting slammed in the grate in the elevator, but that's the one I remember the most. So, what are we down to? We are down to Kira, who is still trapped in the cage. Michael J. Pagan, who is still around, although he does find the missing money, and then he's killed right after it. So he's gone. And we have Christine and Michael. Eventually, Margaret, the person who brought them there, the old lady, finds Jacob Goodnight's place, and you think, oh shit, she's dead. Well, yes, but no. Turns out she's Jacob Goodnight's mother. Somebody watched Friday the 13th before writing this movie. So yeah. But because she wants Jacob to kill Kira, and because he sees the religious tattoos as something else, he says no, and then chucks her into this spike that's just hanging on the wall, and she's dead. And yeah, and so it's down to our three heroes. Like these characters mostly are unlikable, but you kind of side with Kira here. You see that she has some kind of abuse issue with Michael, but then Michael turns out to be a reluctant hero. Okay, and we get this scene where Kane is pushed out this window, falls a long distance. His heart is like, but there's a sequel anyway, done 7 years later. I'll do that eventually. And he's dead. And as they walk out, they ask Michael why he came back, why he came back. I didn't want to walk out alone or something like that. The movie just ends. Oh, we get a mid-credit scene where the dog pisses in Jacob Goodnight's eye socket. Yeah, there's a thing with eyeballs in this movie where he's plucking on people's eyes and putting them in jars, and then Michael J. Pagan, later to distract him, smashes the jars to distract him so that Christine can try to rescue Kira, but he has the keys, so that doesn't work. Yeah, it's kind of a meh ending anyway, and the whole thing with the eyeballs is kind of ick. But you know, I'll give it a middle of the road because it's not great. It didn't hold up as much as I thought it was going to. After all these years, you know, all that time, 17 years, or 16 years, have I really been out of high school for 16 years? I'm old. Yeah. So, there it is. It's the middle of the road. What are your thoughts on See No Evil? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Next up in the Wrestle-A-Thon, we have probably the flagship franchise in the WWE Studios filmography, and that's the Marine. We're starting off with John Cena before we hit a road bump with Ted DiBiase, and then a little bit of a smooth sailing with The Miz. Weird enough to say, but, you know. And there's others, like The Condemned, which has 2 movies, See No Evil, which also has 2 movies, and there's also single ones in here. Most of these I own, but there's others I found on Tubi, mostly. But, yeah. And I'm not doing the 12 rounds movies. I've already done those. I have 12 rounds 2 right here sitting. I already done the 12 rounds movies a couple years ago now. I could redo them, but nah. This thing's what they are. I think my reviews for those were just fine, to be honest. But, yeah. So, thank you for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.